In the United States, we have gotten to the point where almost 2/3 of adults are overweight or obese. Even more alarming is, according to a research paper called Biology's Response to Dieting, the Impetus for Weight Regain, less than 20% of people who have attempted to lose weight were able to keep it off over a year. And once you get over 3 years, the success rate drops to around 5%. With today's dieting culture, which includes endless promises of rapid weight loss results, it can be tempting to jump on the latest fad in an effort to shrink that belly as fast as possible. Unfortunately, this is often the very thing that not only keeps you stuck, but makes you fatter every passing year. So today I'm going to show you how to lose the weight in a way where you can actually keep it off and not have to do it again next year.
Alright, true story time. This is a buddy of mine who years ago, he went on this extreme diet during New Year's. He went from like 250 pounds down to around 200 in only about 3 months by just eating a couple of salads a day and just really going extreme. Except the unfortunate part is by the end of the year, he had actually gained weight from before he started the diet. Fast forward a few more years and he continued this exact cycle every single January, and by the end of about 5 years he was actually sitting over 300 pounds. That's right, by dieting aggressively he ended up gaining 50 pounds doing what he was doing. Maybe this sounds a little too familiar. Why does this happen and what can we do to fix it? Make sure you watch till the end of the video because I'm going to make sure I set you up so you never go through this yourself. And the reason this happens is because of how adaptive the body is. Your metabolism will adapt to whatever you do, so the more extreme you get, the more your body is going to adapt to these lower calories and probably a lot more cardio, and it's going to make adjustments to match that. This is basically the body's self-defense mechanism against starvation, and why, even though it's a little bit counterintuitive, you have to understand that extremely fast weight loss is usually a bad thing, and one of the most important tips I can possibly give you is to not rush the process. And the reason for this is because in order to lose weight really fast, what do you have to do? Well, you have to eat much less calories, probably do a lot more activity, and create a large calorie deficit to lose weight at a faster rate. And while you lose weight fast at first, which sounds great, the problem is the body will adapt to this. Now you can no longer lose, you're stuck, but you're already barely even eating and doing a lot of cardio, so what are you gonna do to get the process working again? You're pretty much stuck. Not only that, but all the dieting really wreaks havoc on your hormones, and your body starts signaling to you that you're extremely hungry. When you do eat, you never feel full, you feel run down, tired, cranky, and extremely hungry. And on top of that, there's a pretty good chance you probably cut out most of your favorite foods, and since you can't see progress anymore and you're feeling frustrated, what do? Well, you typically go back to your old eating habits, and let's be honest, probably overeating on the foods that you previously had restricted, except now you're doing it with a much slower metabolism, so the weight piles on fast. But here's the kicker. Just because the fat comes back on fast, that doesn't mean that your hormones and metabolism come back at the same rate. And this is why it can be so easy to overshoot previous body fat levels from before the start of your diet. So instead of starving yourself this year, what you need to do is make sure you're eating as many calories as possible and doing as little cardio as possible while losing at most about 1 to 2% of your body weight on average per week. This way, when you hit those unavoidable weight loss plateaus, you have room to make adjustments and keep the process going. Not only will your metabolism stay in a better place, but the slower you lose your weight, the more muscle mass you're going to maintain, making it much less likely that you're going to lose more than just body fat to get the weight off. It really is like the old tortoise and the hare fable. Slow and steady really does win the weight loss race. Okay, the next big factor you need to consider when thinking about weight loss this year is the sustainability of your diet. There are countless diets with a name out there that you can look at, and pretty much all of them have numerous examples of people who have successfully lost weight on them. But the funny thing is, most of them seem to contradict each other. You have the keto crowd that basically says don't eat any carbs, and then you have the higher carb, lower fat people saying make sure you avoid eating fat. You have people doing a carnivore diet, which is basically eating only meat, and then you have the vegan crowd saying make sure you avoid meat. The thing is, they can't all be right, and it really just shows that there are several different eating strategies you can take, and that's because all diets work by putting you in a calorie deficit, which means eating more calories than you burn. But what's more important is, can you keep doing it? Because it really doesn't matter what you do to lose the weight. If you can't keep doing it after the weight is gone, you're just gonna put the weight back on. And this is why, in my opinion, creating a healthy relationship with food is so important for any long-term success. I really truly believe that you should not look at food as either good or bad because there is no morality to be placed on food. And if you do place morality on food, it's only going to set you up to have a lot of food anxiety when you do eat, and you shouldn't feel bad or guilty about having a slice of cake at your kid's party or going out with your family and having a couple slices of pizza. These foods don't make you fat just by eating them in any amount. It's not like your body looks at them, has some kind of filtering system in it where you eat it and all of a sudden it goes, nope, store this as fat, okay, nope, use this to burn fat. It doesn't work that way. Sure, some foods are more calorie dense and easier to overeat on. Things like fruits and vegetables are great because they're filling and they have a lot of micronutrients in them. But it's all about creating balance, and a diet that you can sustain long term is something that's going to lead to long-term success versus the mad dash to the finish line that just ends up in weight regain. In fact, if you don't believe me, there are plenty of examples of people who have lost a lot of weight and improved health markers eating traditionally thought of as bad foods. But for now, I'll just give you one example. There's a guy who became known as the McDonald's diet guy who used only McDonald's for 6 months and lost 56 pounds. Not only did he lose 56 pounds, but he also saw his cholesterol go from 249 down to 190. That your diet should be mostly nutrient-dense, whole foods, minimally processed foods. It just shows that if you include some foods that you enjoy, you're not gonna get fat just because you had a little bit of it. And if 80 or 90% of your diet is clean foods and stuff that has good micronutrients to it, and the other 10 to 20% is stuff that is a little bit less nutrient dense, you're gonna be fine. Not to mention, if you look at foods as bad, whenever you do eat them, you're gonna feel shame and you're gonna feel guilt and you're probably gonna beat yourself up. And trust me when I tell you, beating yourself up will do way more harm than any amount of overeating you can do at one time. So far, I've never seen anybody with the all or nothing mentality not end in nothing. Alright, so I just talked about the importance of sustainability, so if you really hate tracking, this next part might sound a little bit hypocritical, but hear me out when I tell you that I think tracking is really important, at least for a short period of time. One of the best things you can do for yourself, especially if you have a poor relationship with food, is see that you can include some of these foods into your numbers. If you have like a calorie or macronutrient budget and you allow yourself to include these foods into that, you can see that you can have this food and still make progress. Plus, there's nothing on this planet that teaches you more about nutrition and portion sizes than spending a few months tracking everything you eat. Everyone always says they want to be able to eat intuitively and not have to worry about logging everything, but how can you be intuitive if you have no clue what's in the foods that you eat or what a portion size of anything looks like? So first you have to build the knowledge base, and then and only then can you truly have an understanding of what your diet looks like. In fact, one of the first things I usually do with anybody who didn't previously track is have them continue to eat the exact same way that they've been eating previously, but now we're just gonna track it and see what it looks like. And I'm telling you, the response is always pretty remarkable, and people are often blown away with how much they're eating, sometimes because of how much they're eating, and other times because of how little they're eating. So even just that 1 week can be really eye-opening and can be a valuable teaching tool, but when you start actually tracking with targets, that's when you really learn a lot. Not only that, but if you really want to be able to lose weight, one of the best ways to be able to do this is to know how much you're eating and know what your maintenance calories look like, so that way you can intentionally make sure you eat less and put yourself in a calorie deficit and ensure that you're losing weight. Which, by the way, if you're not really sure what goes into a calorie deficit, because it is kind of complex, and if you want to learn how to set one up for yourself, I have a video in the description of this video that you can check out about what it is and how to set it up for yourself. So check that out after this video. But don't go anywhere yet, because I have some hacks with nutrition that almost nobody talks about. This is brand new information to most people, and I'm also going to help you structure your exercise properly to make sure you lose the weight and keep it off. Okay, one of those things that almost nobody talks about that is such a huge help for good weight loss success is to make sure that you're taking at least relatively frequent diet breaks. Now, when I say diet break, people hear this and think, well, it's just some sort of free-for-all. That's not what I mean by diet break. When I say diet break, I basically mean you bring your calories up to around maintenance or so, you bring your cardio down a little bit if you're doing a lot, and you just don't focus on weight loss for a while, usually eating around maintenance for 1 or 2 weeks, and then you can go back to the diet. And this helps in many different ways, not only just the mental side of things to be able to eat some more food, do a little bit less cardio, but you also get the hormonal and metabolic benefits because when you do diet, as I mentioned previously, you see these adaptations. By taking frequent diet breaks, you keep your metabolism in a better spot, you help improve your hormones, improve your metabolism so that you can keep seeing better results long term. So many people are really afraid to take these diet breaks when I tell them to, but I'm telling you, especially if you are stuck and you're being pretty aggressive, it could be the very thing that gets you unstuck. So don't be afraid, they are super helpful. Trust me when I tell you that pounding yourself into the ground is not effective, it will not work, and your body will fight you. All right, my friend, it's time to move on to the exercise side of things, and you're probably wondering right off the bat, what should I do, cardio or strength training? And honestly, the answer is typically a combination of both, and I want to explain how each of them help and how one is a little bit better for the long term and one is a little bit better for the short term. So I'm a big proponent of strength training, and I think it's one of the best things you can possibly do for yourself, not only for fat loss, but overall body composition. And this is not only because it helps you build muscle, which the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism will be, meaning you burn more calories at rest. Plus, your body tends to burn more calories just recovering from the strength training. So even just at rest, you burn more calories than you normally would. Whereas cardio, as soon as your heart rate comes back down to normal again, you stop burning additional calories. However, you do burn more calories from cardio in the actual exercise most of the time. So the way I look at it is when it comes to fat loss, strength training is better in the long term, whereas cardio can be more effective in the short term. But most people will hear that and think, well, I just want to get the weight off, so I need to do nothing but cardio. I'll worry about muscle building later. And I'm telling you, that's a mistake. Don't get me wrong, I do think that cardio is very beneficial and you'll probably have to do a decent amount to get the weight off, but the problem with cardio is the body is really adapted to it, much like it is with calories, in that your body just becomes more efficient and it burns less calories doing the same amount of work over time, whereas it doesn't adapt quite so well to strength training. So by all means, you're probably gonna need to do more cardio, but just understand once your body does adapt to that cardio, you're gonna have to do more. So much like you wanna eat more calories and then eventually eat less over time, you wanna get away with as little cardio as possible and continue to do more over time as the body adapts. However, with that said, there is one caveat here, and that is, once again, we have to look at the sustainability of things, because if you just hate strength training and you love cardio, it would be foolish for me to say you should just do strength training and just ignore cardio, because you're not going to keep doing it, and even if it's more effective, it's not going to do any good if you give up. So if you like CrossFit or marathons or bodybuilding or Zumba or whatever else, what you love, what you truly enjoy and will stick to is what matters the most. Okay, this part is huge, and I mean massively huge, so make sure you're paying attention. What is it? It's the diet after the diet. Remember what I talked about before. 95% of people who lose weight end up gaining it back. And I truly believe that it's the diet after the diet that's a big reason why. Now remember, when you're done dieting, whether it's because you've lost the weight or because it's just getting too difficult and you can't see more progress, your metabolism is running really slow. So what you need to do to make sure that you retain the results you got is reverse diet and slowly increase your calories instead of going right back to your old eating habits and just piling the weight back on. Because just like your metabolism slows down when you eat less, your metabolism speeds up when you eat more. However, you can't just eat a lot more because your body can't keep up and you'll gain a lot of extra body fat. Whereas if you slowly increase your calories over time, then your body can keep up, you can improve your metabolism and retain most of your results. So unless you want to eat those low calories forever, which in my opinion is a big reason why a lot of people give up because they feel like they can't continue to do it, then to be able to eat more food, you need to go through this process to improve your metabolism again without undoing all of your hard work. Now, you may not know a lot about reverse dieting, and I'm going to help you here. So to make sure that you do it right, make sure you check out this video up here where I explain not only why you need to reverse diet, but how fast to increase your calories, how long to increase them for, how high you should get them, and everything you need to know to set up a successful reverse diet. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.